Hi, welcome back. And today we're going to be looking at a couple of different aspects, if you will. Previously in a stream, I took the character that you see on screen now, leveled it up to level 11, went and started the Positron Task Force, uh, got into the first mission and checked to make sure that the enemies were even con in line with my mission parameters, which were plus 0, minus 0, or whatever the default is. If you manually set it later, it becomes plus 0 x1. Uh, and when the positron, the enemies were even level to me. And then went into a farm, got myself leveled up real quickly, enough to go start a Synapse task force. Started the Synapse task force and, as seen on camera, made absolutely no other changes. And the enemies were max level spawn for the task force. So I um, reported this bug, and this is error to behavior, and somebody came back with, well, that's how task forces always have been. That's what they're supposed to do. Okay, they didn't exactly say it like that. But it's kind of complicated. And it really goes back into ancient history. The City of Heroes has been changed multiple times. One of the biggest changes was something called super sidekicking. And originally, there's probably not even any in the game that I can go talk to. Actually, I know where one is in Atlas Park. So before we get to building, we're going to take a quick detour down memory lane and see if we can go find ourselves a notoriety contact. And when City of Heroes first started, you had like four different difficulty levels that you could choose. And you actually had to go to a uh, somebody who could change your notoriety. Uh, and I'm Oh, here we go. Hero Core Field Analysis. Change the level at which you fight, change the number of heroes which I'm equivalent to, bosses. These different options, these are like a fourth, technically fifth generation implementation of City of Heroes challenge system. And in the original game, you had, if you wanted to go with a higher level player, you had to be sidekick to a higher level player. So if you were on a team and you had 8 people, and you had to have at least 4 of those team members had to be within 3 levels of each other. So if you had a 50, then the lowest the fourth person could be is 47 to have enough sidekick spots to bring everybody up to, well, fight in level with your team. Well, that got changed with super sidekicking, where team levels are dictated by the team leader. So whatever the team leader level is, anyone who's above that level is now at the team leader's level. So if a team leader is 47, everybody else is 50, everybody's now 47 in line with the team leader. If the team leader is 47 and everyone else is lower than 47, everybody on the team becomes 46. They are one level lower than the team leader because they are sidekick to the team leader. And this had implications up and down for the various task forces. And among those changes, and this was something that was really a pain in the rear end on live server, is that if your team leader disconnected and you were running missions at the team leader's level, and your team leader was max level 40 task force, like you were running a positron max level 15, and your team leader was 15 and everyone else was 10. If your team leader disconnected and everybody was level 10, that really sucked because there was no way a team of level 10s could take on enemies 5 levels higher than them at the spawn rates of that you would get from having a team with that many players. So some of the solutions that were put forward is task forces very early on were changed so that they're supposed to follow the level of the team leader. So that if your max level team leader gets disconnected, logged off, or whatever, everyone can log out and then log back in, and the levels will reset to the new team leader. That's how that was basically the workaround that Cryptic came up with is everybody log out. Log back in, you're still in the task force, but now the mission will be set to whoever the team leader is and whatever their level is, so everything's now hunky dory. That's how it is supposed to work. You're not supposed to get slammed by having max level enemies and you're at the minimum level for the task force. Now, there are some caveats to this. There are trials which are different from task forces. And I've brought up the LFG window here for a second, and we can see at the screen here we've got trials, incarnate trials, task force, story arcs, holiday, and these are the different events that are available for this level of character. So this is not a complete list of what's available in game. This is just what I could go access right now if I was actually playing this character to be playing this character. So the reason why I'm standing here in front of Luminary is if you look up in the right hand corner, I'm actually level 22. I've got a green arrow up there that says that I can level up. Now, one of the reasons I'm actually running this character is it's a concept character, Avengleta. Uh, my thing in game has always been ribbon cannons, ribbon bombs, ribbon arrows. Everyone back up, facing forward to me if you see me armed with a ribbon bomb. So, Avengleta is supposed to be, well, you can do the language translation on your own for that, or for that, how that works. Sorry, I'm really trying not to laugh. All right, so Evangleta, and we're going to real quickly bring her up to level 22. And okay, the reason why this build is going to have to change. This is not a long-term build. Uh, One of the things I was been meaning to test is how some of the revamped pool powers worked with existing sets. In this case, I had selected infiltration, which was added to the stealth set as a travel power, and infiltration does not stack with the well, at least the Sentinel Ninjitsu's hide. You can see when I turn the what is that? Shinobi Iri. Shinobi Iri? You can see that when I turn that on, infiltration turns off and vice versa. Okay, so those didn't stack, but not exactly unexpected. So I'm now level 22, and kind of the reason I'm jumping through this is, oh right, level 25. I need to be in Independence Port. I'm in the wrong zone. Wow. Okay, so let's head to Independence Port North. All right, so going back to the way the task forces worked have been changed. The way difficulty works has been changed. One of the changes that was made during, we'll call it the dark hours, the time between when the game officially shut down and, well, when the Oro team, I'm well, I'm not even sure how to properly say this. Uh, I've called it the secret server in the past. So a lot of the work done on the secret server was explicitly done to try and make City of Heroes work for a much smaller audience. And because we're talking only a few thousand people, 3,000 at most people who could possibly be logged in, a very, very far cry from a traditional MMO, which expect to see 10,000 players on launch and maybe a few 5,000 or 8,000. Yes, I'm taking deliberate pot shots at the over gross estimations of how popular MMORPGs were going to be after World of Warcraft numbers started skyrocketing. And not every game is going to pull 1 million players. So I actually want to be a Penelope Yen. Now I'm going to agree to form a task force. This is another change that was made for the secret server. You can now start any task force solo. And we can see here my mission, I am level plus 0x0. So I haven't not made any changes to the task force. And let's see what happens when I log in. Loading screen. All right. Now, since I don't actually have any enhancements, we're just going to tab enemies. And as we can see, enemies are conning light, upper left-hand corner, level 22. Enhancements, we're just going to tab enemies. And as we can see, enemies are conning light, upper left-hand corner, level 22. So that's what I really wanted to test again on camera, is showing that the behavior with Synapse Task Force giving larger than expected, placing enemies at maximum level is abnormal behavior. It is not how task forces are supposed to work. Has not been how they've supposed to work since at least issue 5, maybe 6. It's been over, we're actually getting close to 2 decades here. That's a little scary. All right, so that's what I wanted to look at to start with, was check another task force on the hero side. Now, since I'm going to be a bit of a prat about this, because some person out there thinks that they know something I don't. And, okay, to be fair, in City of Heroes, as complicated as the code is, as complicated as the history is, it's actually not improbable that at some point somebody will know something that somebody else will not. The Secret Server devs did a bang-up job of driving me to drink by telling me some of the internal horror stories that, well, I probably going too far here, but things that would not ever be shown when you were testing a game client in a different operating system, if you catch what I'm saying. But I suppose anyone watching this already has a pretty good idea of who Aurian Archive is. Didn't do a whole lot to really disguise things there, so yeah, whatever. And yeah, part of me is now live streaming just because A, I can. B, this was a really great game. And C, NCSoft, make Homecoming official. Just put the game assets, everything under an open source license. I'll even tell you what Creative Commons license to use for the content, because you had some really good stories going here. NCSoft, if you're listening to this, you had some really good ideas here. You had some really great ideas. You had some really good stories. You really should get the credit for having brought this to life in the first place. I don't think there's any City of Hero fan out there who denies or is against NCSoft deserving a massive amounts of credit, because you got to remember back in 2002, 2001, this kind of game was just unimaginable. Nobody could even imagine it, and even today, so few developers and publishers can actually understand or wrap their head around what's actually possible in the superhero genre without using a DC or Marvel license. There's lots of stuff you can do, and there's lots of stuff that's in the public domain that DC or Marvel can't do anything about. And sometimes you really do need to take those fights to the court and tell DC and Marvel to sit down and get out of the way. Okay. Let me pull this down. Get rid of. Yeah, this is the problem with doing live streams, is it's very easy to get off onto a rant and little things pop up. And what I'm doing here is I'm actually taking a little shortcut change. There are some hardcore role players who who are up in arms over the fact that you can change your in-game alignment at the drop of a hat, or in this case, the drop of a bird. Who there legitimately were some players who said that you must use the tip system. You must take X number of days. You cannot simply become another alignment overnight or in a split second and go do something else as a different alignment. Well, if we're talking comic books, the idea of switching alignments at a drop of the hat isn't exactly anything new. And task force. Give me a second while I figure out where I'm going. Okay, I can do start a yen. Okay, yeah, yen's 20 to 25. No, not yen. Silver Manus. Okay. Since I can't remember where Silver Manus is, we'll just do the warp here. Alright. Superheroes or comic book heroes pretending to be something else, I'd say goes back even, possibly even to the Lone Ranger. Probably even before that, going back to pulp heroes before that. The good guy who sneaks into the hideout by pretending to be the uh, a henchman. Technically, you could probably say it even goes back to biblical times, the Book of Judges, uh, and the Israelites infiltrating enemy cities by pretending to be citizens of that city. So, good guys swapping alignments or pretending to swap alignments at the drop of a hat, not exactly anything new. And, okay, we are inside, tab, and woof. All right, answers that question. I was honestly not expecting them to come in at level 26. And as just kind of seen on camera, I haven't changed any difficulty levels. I just went and changed my alignment to Vigilante, and then went and started a Silver Manus, and it maxed out the enemy zone entry. So apparently there are a few task forces that are forcing improper settings. Okay, so real quick, I'm trying to finish up threads of thought here, and I know how I can do what I'm going to do next. I'm about to take a long way around to get to someplace that used to be a short trip. Okay. So going back to the idea of changing alignments very quickly, pretending to be something else, not new, and there is a valid point to be made in City of Heroes that Arachnos is a massive organization. I mean, they've built a city on rocks and shoals. No, I'm not sorry. All right. Ragnos, they build a city. They employ a significant number of, well, those guys and drones. And yeah, I'm right now giving the stealth a workout. Because and these guys, Ragnos, pretty big villain organization. If you're a goody two whoa. Something just tagged me. Ragnos, pretty big organization. If you just spent yesterday punching Lord Recluse in the face, and then today you're suddenly Lord Recluse's best buddy, okay, there's actually a fair point to be made here that contextually within the game, swapping alignments isn't something that makes sense at a drop of a hat. There's so many enemy factions involved that simply saying, well, I'm going to pretend to be a whatever doesn't fly within the faces of enemies you just fought who you suddenly may be allied to. By putting this mechanic of swapping through null to gull And there's a huge story there behind that. Null is officially within the game one of the incarnates who has tremendous power. So if you go and visit Null the Gull and tell him, like, I've got to be a hero for a day, Null the Gull will change things because that's within his powers to change reality. He's a reality changing bird. Now, why he does it, what his motivations are entirely up to the player to conceive. Or the player themselves can just use Null and just, use Null as an excuse for, yeah, I just went and saw that bird. Yeah, I'm now a hero. Or, yeah, I just went and saw that bird. I need to rob this bank. Or there's different ways you can play that off rather than having to go through and take real world time to run a series of missions. Um, Actually, I would look under context where I have tips versus having a mechanic where an extra dimensional. And the other thing, since Pocket D is in a pocket universe, it's outside of everything else. It's not it's not outside of the realm of possibility in a comic book world that you went to Pocket D and somebody, if you're a hero and somebody from Arachnos there bribes you to become a villain. You may not go all the way. You may just become a vigilante just to go do whatever they wanted you to do. Or you could be a villain and you could be in Pocket D and some hero could just sweet talk you into uh, joining them on a mission because they want to try and turn you to the side of good. Uh, think of Colossus and Deadpool. Is that my phone? I'm not really sure what that was. All right. With that kind of precedent where there's different places where things can happen, it really becomes up to the player themselves to determine this is why I'm this alignment now. And then they can use other aspects of the world to justify why their new alignment makes sense within the context of the world. So, if you're the kind of person who you say, "Oh, you cannot become a vigilante just by talking to a bird," you're a poor role player. You don't know what you're doing. You have no imagination. Come up with your own idea of why your character would make that change at that drop of a hat. Just because you can't do it doesn't mean other players can't do it. And it's really annoying. And to the point of you probably talk like you have adenoids. Yes, I'm doing a Jeremy Clarkson thing. And whatever the Wally voice is. I feel sure some British people will have something to say on that subject. Hi, I'm Tony Blair. Okay. Going back to the point where I'm at now, and the reason I've been hanging around outside this house, this is another shortcut that was added for the secret server. And basically, what I just did is I visited the Midnighters Club in Night Ward, which is a dimension shifted zone. You may be able to. I realize the resolution on the stream is not quite as good as the resolution as what I'm playing in or crashing in, given the state of my graphics card. Uh, but Night Ward is supposed to be an otherworldly negative zone, a dimensional reflection of another world, which we'll go swap back to. I really didn't want to bring up the map because I just wanted to do this by memory, but I may have to bring up the map to figure out. Oh, I know where I want to go. Nope. Map time. There it is. I'm too far north. Was that it? Here we go. And we now have a jump bar here. Swap that. Loading, loading, loading. And we're back in First Ward. And as you can see, it's the same effective city, just standing in, but it's no longer overtaken by darkness, just a massive portal in the sky. Yeah, that's the storyline I really wish the live devs had been given a chance to follow up on, because wherever this was going was coming across as pretty epic. All right. Going back to the shortcuts, things that made changes. The reason I just went through all of that is I'm actually going after a specific badge for a specific. I'm too low. Frick it. That brief moment when you realize that your great, grand, masterful plan is not actually going to work because you don't have a character that's high enough level to pull it off. All right, so whenever I get to level 35, I can actually go back and finish what I was finished. Okay, the trick is to get to the Ouroboros portal. You must either complete a time travel mission or you must visit a zone that is time shifted, not dimension shifted. So if you are above level 35, you go to Night Ward, you visit the Midnighters Club, you can get the location badge there. The location badge then unlocks the time travel badge so that you can use the Midnighters Club to go to the past. You go to Cimarera. I think I said that correctly. Uh, and then in Cimarera, when you pick up a location, I think you have to pick up a location badge. I don't think it's a word on entry. Then you get the Ouroboros badge because you've now time traveled, uh, and now you're entrusted with the secret of time travel. So you have a chain there at level 35 minimum to go and get the Ouroboros badge without running a specific set of missions or finding somebody who, well, um, yeah, running a specific set of missions. I think the earliest you can actually get Ouroboros natively is to run the fault line missions. Uh, Honestly, I'm at a stage in this game where I spend most of the time going back and replaying content and playing through it for the first time. So maybe I'm not the best person to keep that chain in mind. All right, so uh, give me a second while I do a quick recap in my head as I've gone over. I've tested Penelope Yen's task course, Itcon normal. I tested uh, Silver Mantis's task force. Everyone conned at max level. I've ranted to NCSoft that they were listening. Uh, Same rant they've heard before, so nothing really changed there. And now I'm back in Talos. I picked up a badge. I got the Midnighters badge, so now when I hit 35, I can go to Cimarera and get my Ouroboros badge, or I can just have somebody drop me an Ouroboros portal, which actually, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and do that one since this is kind of already set up for that. Live streaming, coming up with things to talk about while you're just moving around the city. All right, there we are. And one oro portal. Thank you. Ouroboros, entrusted with the secret. And picked up the location badge. All right, let's head back to Talos. And okay, basically, while I move on to the next stage of what this stream was supposed to be about, build theory, we're going to park inside of a farm. Hello, Electromy. And this is probably going to be the slowest farm you will ever witness. This probably is even going to be slower uh, than the staff tank uh, from the other video. But it's solid. So run with what you got. So now we're going to bring our hero builder to the top. All right, the first time that I did a build theory video, I actually had two build windows open so I could do comparative analysis. In this case, I'm not going to do a comparative analysis. I'm going to try and clean sheet the kind of build that Ethangleta is running, which is an archery ninjitsu. Now, when making a build, there's already a lot of preset rules that I'm aware of. And every time somebody asks when making a build, you run off into this massively overly complicated. Actually, there was something that I noticed in here. I'm going to test something real quickly. Can I configure you and alright. Okay, that worked. Nope, didn't work. Oh well. All right, just so you understand what's going on is that there are a number of extra windows up here uh, that are displaying on. I can see them, but they're not being captured by the capture software that I'm using, which is Open Broadcaster. And I'm assuming it's related to uh, can I do yeah, I'm not sure there's a convenient way to catch those overlays, but a couple of them are actually important when it comes to comparative analysis because they make it easier for a player to see what actually is going on, especially when they're hitting into the rule of five caps. And what that means is they've got too many bonuses or too many procs. So what we're going to start off with in clean sheeting this build is I'm going to select all of the powers that I know that I'm going to need. So since I know that Snapshot on a Sentinel is my proc shot for the Sentinel inherent, I'm going to need Snapshot. I could use Dame Shot, but Snapshot is an offensive, Dame Shot is a defensive, and well, Sentinels really didn't need defensive opportunity. But I get it. You have to start somewhere somehow, and that's how the Powers developer decided to start. So I know that I'm going to need uh, all of the defense powers. Definitely going to need my anti-mez. That was my anti-res. And we'll come back to this one. Definitely going to need a self-heal. But do I need it that early? Definitely going to need another anti-mez for anti-knockup. Blinding powder is definitely a wait. And if we check the information on this, Kujinin Ritsu is a crash power, so probably don't need it. We may want our self plus endurance depending on how heavy we are, but we can move this power all the way down to 49, and we can't move Bulryaku up any further. All right, now that we have the powers that we know that we want, next, or at least defensively, next, I'm going to think about what kind of travel power do I want? Or what travel power fits how I see this character behaving? Now, I already know that Infiltration is actually my preferred travel power because I'm playing a ninjitsu. The whole thing is concealment. But since this is a pool power concealment, all of those utilities are actually in my secondary pool. I don't actually uh, need to take anything from a pool power to be a stealthy little ninja. So my options are experimentation, flight, basically experimentation, think of it as speed, flight, which is flight, leaping, which is leaping, force of will, which is a leaping power, sorcery, which is flight, speed, or teleportation. Now, what I do know, or how I see the character behaving, is she's an archer. So she likes to get up high and perch from up top. So flight or jumping would probably make a lot of sense. So before I make a decision on that, I'm going to think about, well, what am I going to do at the upper end? How am I going to round this character out? Am I going to do electric mastery and use lightning field as a minor taunt power? Am I going to do ninja tool mastery and have a sword and a bow? Am I going to do soul mastery so I have a strong hold? I mean, is she a magic user? Can I do electricity? Wait, I already did electric. What was it? Moo. Moo also gives me electric power, but none of them really scream ninja assassin. Same with electricity. Really doesn't, lightning field where you're just dancing electric. Yeah, it screams, hi, I'm powerful, but doesn't really say, hi, I'm a ninja. So we're really kind of focusing in on ninja tool mastery because it, continues the uh, ninja trend, or maybe dark mastery. It's uh, got a pretty good debuff. Fire mastery again just doesn't really seem like a Vista character. Ice mastery, that's actually cold ninja. Where have I seen a movie that had a cold ninja recently? Oh wait, Mortal Kombat. Okay, as cool as that might be, that eh, doesn't really seem like the kind of character that I have. Leviathan Mastery, same kind of thing. Uh, really don't see a ninja throwing sharks. Even though City of Heroes has a ninja, Captain Mako, who throws sharks. So there's that. And then Psionic Mastery. Now there's a couple of builds where Link Mines is the only way to achieve a specific set of how can we say this parameters. This probably isn't going to be one of them. There's really nothing in the Sonic Mastery set other than Link Mines that really says, "Hello, I'm useful." So we kind of come down to Dark Mastery, which okay gives us uh, an immobilize, a PBOE, another immobilize, another ranged. So that could work well from range because I could take 1, 2, 3 powers. Could maybe make that work, or a Ninja Tool Mastery where I've got a Tashibishi. Tashibishi. Am I saying that right? There's a reason why I would never take this power, and I'll just go to the information real quick on it. It does a Mag 50 Afraid. So you launch it into the middle of a mob, and everything starts running for its life. Really annoying. If it didn't have the Massive Afraid on it, it'd actually be a pretty useful power. Okay, so we've got a hold, which would actually be useful for ship raids. It would also. mm, Another place where a ranged hold is really, really useful is when you're running either the Lady Grey Task Force or during a Hamadan raid, where the more hold that you can bring to the table, the better. So we've got a potential here with a melee, paralyzing dart, lotus drops, and a PvAOE foe placate minus damage to hit. I'm running a Sentinel. I want to be a ninja. I like to get to high places. I have a couple of strong melee attacks. I've got a hold attack, but I need to be able to get out of a fight quickly. Okay. So, just because I already know which one I'm going for. Looking at Force of Will, we've got Mighty Leap, which is a self-jump. And if I actually needed it, instead of Kujai Retsu, I've got Unleash Potential. I know that text is outdated, but this also has a crash. I've used Unleash Potential, I think, on a Warshade. I think a Warshade. It's actually kind of interesting. Uh, Maybe don't have to go that deep into it, but okay, so Mighty Leap or Speed of Sound. The thing is, I already know from practical experience, if you take a super speed's power, either Speed of Sound or Super Speed, you also need to take combat jumping, because otherwise you will have limited air control, and not being able to control your character when you leave the ground is annoying. Uh, so it's kind of, I know that if I go with experimentation, speed of sound, I'm going to have to fit in at least one other pool power. But if I go with Mighty Leap, I get the jump so I can reach high places. It's, if I'm shooting from a rooftop or from a balcony, they've got Mighty Leap. Of course they could get up there. Uh, so what I'm thinking is Mighty Leap and teleport, combat teleport. Now we're going to move combat teleport all the way down to 47 for now. So now that we've got what we think are our primary powers, we're also going to go ahead and lay out the Ninja Tool Mastery power that we intend to take. So Sting of the Wasp, Paralyzing Dart, Lotus Drops. Alright, so now we know that in order to take Kamiridama, we're going to have to move Combat Teleport earlier. So we're going to move Combat Teleport to 38 to take Kamiridama at 47. Okay. So now we have that set up. Now we'll work backwards. We know that we're going to need our nuke, Rain of Arrows. We know that we're going to need to take Perfect Shot. We know that we're going to need to take Blazing Arrow. We know that we're going to need to take Explosive Arrow. Hang on. That would be the phone.